We're now on the top of Daf Lamed Vav Hamid Beis, and now Rav Dimi is going to reject Abai's kasha, because Abai seems to have proven that in Truma we apply the principle of Heter Mitzaref L'Isur, Mitzaref the Mikvah, which is Chulin, together with the Pachos Mikizayis of Shum V'Shemen, which is Truma, and he gets Malchus for eating them, if he's a Zar. Lo. The reason why he gets Malchus for eating a kazayis of this mikvah is not because Heter Mitzaref L'Isur, argues Rav Dimi, but rather my kazayis, when it says that a Zar gets Malchus for achilas kazayis of this mikvah, the Ika kazayis with the achilas pras, that in this tavshil, which we call a mikvah, then the volume of truma is such, meaning the shum and the shemen, is that he's actually eating within a certain shear of what we call arba beitzim, which is achilas pras, a kazayis of truma. So let's say kazayis with achilas pras is 9 minutes. Again, that's a big kula. Might be a chumrah in Hilchas Yichud, but in any event, so the time period that it took him from the beginning of his eating of the mikvah, we're talking about Azar, until he finishes a full kazayis, until he finishes whatever he eats in 9 minutes, within that period of time, he actually consumed a kazayis's worth of truma, of shum and shemen. And the halacha is that when a person is shoeh b'achiloso kazayis, in other words, we start the clock ticking from the beginning of his achila until the end of his achila. And if he's eating a kazayis of isur in a shehiyah of yoser mikdei achilas pras, so until he finishes the kazayis, he's already passed a period of time called tokdei achilas pras from the beginning of the kazayis that he ate, his beginning of his achila, then he's potter. But if he finishes his achila of a kazayis within that period of time, and that's the period of achilas pras, then Loki gets malchus. So when it says here that ochel kazayis min mikvah gets malchus, it's nothing to do with Heter Mitzaref L'Isur, it's because he actually consumed within that period of time a full kazayis of truma. So Abai now comes back and asks Rav Dimi v'achilas pras d'oraisa. Is this shear of Kedei Achilas Pras, which we said is the time it takes to eat arba beitzim, is that a shear d'oraisa or meloin? And Rav Dimi responds that this is a din Torah. It's a d'oraisa halacha. So Bai comes back and he asks, if you are correct that Kedei Achilas Pras is min Torah, is amai pligi rabbanan aleid Rab Elazar b'kutach habavli? Why did Rabbanan disagree with Rabbi Elazar in the case of Taroves Chametz, which is called Kutach HaBavli? If he eats it on Pesach, according to Rabbi Elazar, he gets Malchus, because Taroves Chametz, and Rabbi Elazar derives this from the extra kol in the word kol machmetzes. The Rabbanan should also agree that he gets Malchus, because even if he does not darshan the kol machmetzes to generate malchus for taruvas chametz, so nevertheless he ate a kazayis with the achilas pras. There's enough chametz in there in that mixture called kutach habavli, such that within that period of time of tokdei achilas pras, he has consumed a full kazayis worth of chametz. So where and why did the chachamim object to Rabbi Elazar? Dalmi hachi, even if they don't have the principle of Taroves Chametz and Heter Mitzaref L'Isur, forget about that. It's Kizayis with Achilas Pras, and that should make it Dorais, that we can mitzaref the beginning of his Achila, Tolka de Achilas Pras with the end of his Achila, and we'll calculate that he has a full Kizayis of Isur itself. Amalei, Rav Dimi responds to by Hanach Kutach HaBavli, the cave of the Kizayis Lechilas Pras. He says, let's not ask any questions from Kutach HaBavli because they're leka Kizayis Lechilas Pras. The amount of stale bread that they mix into this yogurt concoction called Kuta Habavli does not have a shear of a kazais. The chametz itself is not a kazais flechil's pras. And I'll prove it to you, says Rav Didi, with a mimonavshal. Because sharif le mishraf, if he swallows it as it is, and therefore he swallowed a kazayis worth of chametz b'chtei achilas pras, is butler daitei kol adam. That's not the way you eat a kuta chabavli. It's only a dip. Nobody swallows down the kuta chabavli. It's too sharp. And if it's not derech achila, he can't be chayav for that. Oh, v'i mishnar kashatar. But if rather he uses it for tibul, which is what it's originally designed for, is lo mishkachas kazayis b'chayachas pras. In tibul, you're not going to eat a kazayis. So if he swallows down the whole kutach, then it's shalo kedarko. And if it's shalo kedarko, then he's not chayav for such an achila. And if on the other hand he's using it as a dip, then he's certainly not going to be eating kazayis b'chayachas pras. So the only way you could be chayav him for that eating that dip is if you hold hetem mitzarf liisa, which Rabbi Elazar derives from kol, but there's no kazayis v'techilas pras. And if there would be kazayis v'techilas pras, because he swallowed it down the hatch in one gulp, that would be shalo kedarko, because that's not the derech achilas b'nei odom. Eis ve'abai has another kasher of dimi, shtei medochos. Right, a medoch is a grinder. Shekochim b'socho tavlin. They put spices in and they grind down the spices. And he has two of these machines. Achas shel truma ve'achas shel chulin. One madocha is earmarked, is designated for tavlin of truma, and the other for tavlin of chulin. Ulafanov. Okay, this is what we call tliya. In front of these two maduchos, there are steak there, achas shel truma, achas shel chulin, v'naflu elu toch elu. So now the tavlinin in the maducha fell into the kedera, and we have another maducha of chulin also fell into another kedera, because there are two kederos and two maduchos. And the brisa establishes that shtein mutaros, both kederos remain heter. The kedera of truma is mutter to a kohen. The kedera of chulin is mutter to zarin. Why? Because we apply tliya. What does tliya mean? Shani omer chulin toch chulin naflu, truma toch truma naflu. V'isal kedai k'zayis b'chechius prasto reis hamayim rinin shani omer. Tliya only works on a drabanan level. You cannot apply tliya on a doraisa. Like, for example, the Gemara Pesachim in the first parak establishes tliya for the question of whether we need a b'dikas chametz, because midoraisa b'bitul ba'al masagi. So it's only drabanan, and in Isa drabanan we apply tliya. But we cannot be mekil in Isa Torah where there's a chiv misa and say that the truma fell into the tavshil of truma, the kedera of truma, and not into the kedera of chulin. I mean, it's 50-50. There's a 50 statistical percentage chance that the truma fell into the chulin. And if we knew for sure that the tavlin that was truma fell into the tavshil of chulin, a zar would be chayav for eating such a tarobis misa b'dei shamayim if he ate kezayis of the truma v'teichil's pras. So how could we make it in a suffix and be told that the chulin fell into the chulin, the truma fell into the truma? It must be that kazayis b'cheilas pras is not mitzuraf for one achil on a daraisa level. It's all darabanan. And therefore, even if we would know for sure that the tavlet of truma fell into the tavshil of chulin, a zar who eats that tavshil would not be chayiv misa. And therefore, in a suffix, we could be mekil, and we're told that the truma fell into the truma and the chulin into the chulin. So Rav Dimi rejects Abai's kash, and he says the following: Elamai, according to you, that achilas pras, tolkadei achilas pras is only drabanan, and the reason why is zar gets malchus if he eats the mikvah of truma I'm sorry, the mikvah of chulin that has a minority mixture of shum and shemen of truma, why does he get malchus? And the answer must be, says Abaye, that heter mitzaref liisa. And here we're talking about truma. We're not talking about haktorah sior. Is Amaya Amrin Shani Omer? Why should we make it apply the principle of Tliya that the truma fell into the truma? According to you, if it was clear to us that the truma had fell into the chulin, Azar bichayev misa for eating from that chulin, because heter mitzaref liisa. So in other words, don't point an accusing finger at me because I'm applying the principle of kazais fleches pras, because the alternative is your shita Abaye, that the iser here and the chiv malchus is based on heter mitzaref liisa. And that's going to be an Isa Doraisa with a Chiv Misa in the case of Truma. So how can you make it in Suffolk and apply Tliya? Ella, we have no choice but to assume that Trumas Tavlin is not Doraisa. And that's true whether according to my opinion, says Rav Dimi, or according to your opinion of Abaye. The rule of thumb always going to be is that Trumas Chulin is only D'Rabbanan. Because midoraisa, the Torah only prohibits truma in dagan, tirosh, v'yitzar. Eis ve'abaye es another kash on Rav Dimi. Shtei kupos achas shel truma, achas shel chulin. V'lifneim shtei soin, which is a small amount, a volume of tvua. Achas shel chulin v'achas shel truma naflu elu ve'elu. Shnei mutarim lefi shani omer chulin toch chulin naflu, truma toch truma naflu. And Abaye now asks his kash on Rav Dimi from this brisa that we just learned. If according to you, if he eats a kezayis within a chil's pras, it's all mitzurah into one achila, and he's chayav in a Torah, is Amayim Ridin Shani Omer, how can we apply the kula of Tliya? And here on the top of Lamed Zayin, is bishlei di amina mishum deheter mitzaref leisur kigon denefishe chulin. If there's more chulin in the kupa of the saw that fell in, and when there's rov heter, we don't apply heter mitzaref leisur. So therefore, if it was clear to us that the truma fell into the chulin, there would be no Iser min Torah to eat this taroves because ein heter mitzaref leIser if the heter is nafish, it's rov. So even though midrabanan the taroves would be also, we could be mekil in an Iser drabanan apply the principle of Tliya el didach. But according to you, the Amrin, that you say that the reason why you get malchus for achilas hamikvah is because mishum deika kezais u'achilas pras. Is then ki nafish chulin ma'yahavel. What difference does it make if it's nafish chulin? If he ate kazayis b'kliachil's pras, he be chayav misa for an isa zoris she'achal kazayis truma. So therefore, in the case where the truma fell into the chulin, we'd have an isa Torah, and therefore, in the case of a suffix, we cannot apply the principle of tliya. Amalei, Rav Dimi responds to Abaye, hanach l'truma bizman hazeh d'Rabbanan. That we're dealing with Truma Bizman Hazeh, which is the Rabbanon. And again, here we could not apply the previous answer of Trumas Tavlin the Rabbanon, because we're not talking about Tavlin. We're talking about two kupos, large kupos of Dagan. One is made of Truma, and one is made of comprises Truma. And we have Shtei Sa'in of Tvua. So it's Tvua that fell into Tvua. And Tvua is certainly Dorais because we're talking about Dagan, Tirosh, V'Yitzar. This is Dagan. But if it's Bizman Hazeh, then we say that Truma Bizman Hazeh is D'Rabbanan, and therefore, and again, the reason for that is very complicated, but basically because Kedushas Haaretz is Betela, and therefore, even if it would be clear to us for sure that the Truma fell into Chulin, he would not violate an Isur Torah because the Truma itself is only D'Rabbanan. And here's where we're going to stop for today. And Abaye continues to barrage Rav Dimi, as we'll see in Mirza Shem Biyom Revi'i here on Daf Lamed Zayin. Okay, then. So let me wish you a fine day, and thank you very much.